It's time for the NCAA championship game for the men, and one ACC team is looking to add its seventh NCAA title to its bunch. North Carolina will face off against Kansas. It is the Roy Williams farewell tour that we didn't know we needed. But what's next for the coach that had the whole year about him? Where will his team land? More importantly, how is Duke feeling? Let's talk all about that with our favorite Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I am your host, Candace Cooper, rocking with Kenton Gibbs, and we want to make sure that you are locked and loaded and ready to go for an exciting show today. Today's episode is brought to you by StatHero. StatHero is reshaping the way you play fantasy sports. Dozens of house-based games to play daily, no sharks, no funky props, just your skill versus the lineups you choose. Sign up today at stathero.com/locked-on. Kenton, how are we feeling? How's the weekend been for you?
There were tons of really interesting things happening around Raleigh, and I'd like to talk about some of those things. Nothing of significance to this area happened in New Orleans. So I think we should skip over all that because what does New Orleans have to offer North Carolina but crawfish? Am I right? All right.
So funny. If you're talking about what happened in the area, Dreamville Fest, you're in Raleigh.
Yeah, big deal. Big deal. J. Cole pulled up with a motorcade like I ain't seen for nobody but the president, and that was great, right? Well, what a great time,
Huge fan of Fayetteville native Dennis Smith Jr., just happens to be a former Wolfpack guy.
Well, we could really spend all episode talking about this. I think the fans would like to know a lot about Dreamville. Weren't you there? Didn't you go to Dreamville Fest?
I did attend. Unfortunately, though, that cannot be the entirety of the show. We are going to have to talk about North Carolina and Duke. So I hate it for you and hate to break it to you, but it's going to be that kind of episode. I will say, I've been on a cloud since Saturday, and I don't feel like I'm going to come down anytime soon. And even if I do come down because North Carolina loses tonight, my bubble won't be as burst as it would be if Duke had beat North Carolina on Saturday. So let's start here. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about, how the outcome went and what it kind of means for these teams. Now, we know North Carolina is still rolling, but Saturday was the showdown. North Carolina facing off against Duke, number 2 seeded Duke, number 8 North Carolina. And of course, nobody really considers them underdogs if you watch enough basketball. It was going to be a showdown, a knockdown, drag out. You were going to earn this win. Duke coming in, I felt like they were the better team. I'm not even going to hold anybody. I felt like they were the better team. I felt like on paper and then how they were playing in this tournament, it was going to be easy money. And yet, Carolina said, hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought we were finished. Brady Manek making shots. Caleb Love with 28. RJ Davis coming in clutch. And for me, the respect I already have grown for this North Carolina team is just exasperated even more because one time you beat Duke in Cameron, Coach K's final game. Cool, we got our moment. Of course, we assumed it was going to be a nice lick back for Duke. Number 2, you get it in the second time out in the national championship on the biggest stage possible. I don't know how you doubt these fellas going into today's matchup, but here we are. So, Kenton, how are you feeling about North Carolina after watching that third, really, Duke North Carolina matchup this season?
Wolfpack Nation, I'm sorry. Again, this is not a I don't like us or I'm now a defector, but I got to do my job. Okay, I got to do what I got to do. I got to put me first, Lucian. I got to put me first. But anywho, there was one player that I think was the most important to UNC this game that I don't think you mentioned at all. Mr. Bacot being the best big on the floor was vital. In that matchup between him and Mark Williams, I'm thinking we all know which way this is going to go. Williams is going to be the deciding factor in this game. Armando Bacot out-efforted him. He seemed to want it more, and he pulled down more rebounds, put up more points. He was more efficient. He changed more shots defensively. That to me should be the story of this game. That to me should be the story of this game, because that was a thing that I thought this game, if it is close, it won't be because Mark Williams doesn't play well. It'll be because of somebody else.
Yeah.
And Armando Bacot said, "I beg your pardon." Okay, all right, y'all.
Yeah.
Think they got the best big on the court? I got high hopes for you boys. We gonna see, and we saw.
Yeah.
He made a believer out of me. I'm not gonna say a believer enough to where I think he can do the same to McCormick, who moves a little bit better than Williams, not as big, but moves a little bit better in a very similar vein to Bacot. Not exactly that type of rebounder, but in that same physical mold. But he made a believer out of me. Seeing him put up a dominating historic performance against State was expected, because State made anybody over 6'8" look like a god amongst men all year. But seeing him do that up against this Duke team with all the size, and I'm not going to say who, but some people have described Theo John as fake tough, and it really I'm not going to say it got exposed this game, but I mean, it was your moment to buck up, big dog, and that just it didn't happen. So
yeah,
again, hats off to UNC. They did their thing, and they earned this win.
No doubt. And, Bacot coming off of an ankle injury during the game and having to play tonight, I just think it will show ultimate toughness. It reminds me of the 2017 team, to where, do I think all these guys are going to play pro and be like lights out? Maybe not. But when it comes to the college game, I think they've finessed and found their way to really be one of the most memorable Carolina teams ever, because of the way people doubted, because of the way they were counted out, because of the way they played during the season and earned some of the criticism. And I know people are like, how could you ever doubt? They helped you doubt. Like, let's keep it a band. They absolutely helped you doubt.
Y'all saw that game against Kentucky. Stop playing, saying, how could you doubt this team?
You saw the game against Kentucky. You saw the game against Tennessee, against Purdue, against Pitt. Like, we can go on if we needed to. And yet and still, they barely squeaked in and are about to potentially come away with the ultimate championship. That's the ultimate look back, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. But I agree, Bacot was essential. I think Leaky Black, too, guarding AJ Griffin was essential. I just can't put my finger on why the moments seem to be too big for this Duke. You're talented. It's not for lack of talent. It's not for lack of grit, because you thrive off being the villain. What was the difference in these matchups every time they met in a very hostile way? Why wasn't Duke able to pull it out?
I think that Duke being the villain is a very interesting take.
Is it villain with quotes? Because are they not as tough as people say?
It's not the toughness part. They're a villain to certain groups, but they are not the villain nationally, nor have they been historically. I mean, if you want to go all the way back, they weren't the villain. They were villains to certain groups of people, but the majority of America was rooting for Duke for a lot of reasons. And yeah, I'm gonna just leave that there. But with that being said, what was the problem with Duke?
Yeah.
Well, long story short, they struggled to get stops. They struggled to get stops. I mean, me and you both are big Mark Williams fans. We both talk about he has been an underrated piece of this team. And this game, he was Highway 15. Anybody who was driving down that lane, it's good to go. If Highway 15 is there, put it on up. And I mean, that's where you see this game won and lost. That's the reality.
Now, in his defense, Caleb Love, RJ Davis made some tough drive to the basket shots. Like, that's just, it was supposed to go in kind of shot. Not to say that he, of course, had his moments, but when I saw the Caleb Love shot is similar to the Michael Jordan shot where he hit the three to pretty much seal it. Mark Williams's hands damn near touched the ball and blocked it. Like, that was just, I'm talking about very fair. Like, that was a shot of all shots. Like, I don't want Carolina's great play talk to be, a knock on Duke's, because I thought it was a very well defended game on both sides. Like, I felt like you couldn't squeak the ball in anywhere, because you saw Carolina turn the ball over, and more important than that, they made a lot of careless errors. But it was typical Carolina. Who are you passing to, bro? He's not on your team. They had those moments. I don't think it was Duke playing horribly, but I will say this, not being able to get key stops and key clutch moments definitely was their demise.
And it wasn't just Mark. I mean, they couldn't hit a Walmart from the front stairs of the parking lot. They
Yeah,
were god awful from deep. And
yeah.
that's always a thing that's going to be a deciding factor at this time of the year. What they shoot? 25% from deep, 22.7% from deep. That's like
It'd be like that.
you have to, but you know what though, and again, this is why I say all the time, this is what makes college basketball so much more exciting than college football, because the better team doesn't always have to. And I'm not saying that the better team didn't
No,
win here,
yeah.
but I'm
Yo, I
saying
believe
the
the better
better
team did not win. Like,
the
don't.
better team. We
Yeah,
looked at St. Pete beating Kentucky. St. Pete, everybody can say what they want about. Oh, St. Pete had all those good guards and guard players. Listen, if they played that game 100 times, how many times do you think St. Pete beats them?
20,
But guess what? Guess what?
maybe.
In the NCAA, for college basketball, the things are a lot less predictable than they are for football.
Yeah,
Like at the end of the day, that young man from Alabama being 6'5", 330 is 6'5", 330 all 7 days a week. He don't need a 3-point shot. Because it don't depend on, is his hand a little twitchy today, whether or not he gonna block the guy in front of him. So this is a situation that the lack of shooting from deep, the inability to space the floor, when that defense is collapsing on Griffin, is collapsing on Banchero, and they kick it out, you gotta hit the shots.
yeah.
And if you can't do that, then congratulations, you've just made it immensely harder on your two scorers who, I thought the Griffin was going to be able to hit something from deep, but he was struggling. And
This is not the Duke team we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing some melanated deficient players who could shoot the rock and just do it in their sleep. We are used to a Brady Manek on a Duke team, right? I mean, like, let's just have an honest conversation. This is not
but
the Duke
that
team
this
we're
is
used
but
to seeing.
this is why I said Duke was a villain to certain parts, certain communities.
They needed a JJ
There-
Redick. They needed a Christian Laettner. Like, they needed a shooter. Okay.
I'll say this. I don't think, if you look at the greatest shooters in NBA history, that tells a very different story. But if you're looking at college
That's fair.
basketball,
That's fair.
if you're looking at college basketball, it is typically the folks who, if they stay out in the sun for a little bit, they turn real red. That
That's
tend
fair.
to that tend to knock it down for deep. So I get where you're going from there.
You pick up what I'm putting down. But I also think my final thought here on Duke, and then I'm over it, is we're so used to one player at Duke being like the ultimate villain, right? But they deliver. I don't think as much as Paolo Banchero was hyped up, he embraced that everyone hates me and I'm going to make them pay for hating me. Like, sure, when the DUI thing happened, he would go off whenever they would bring it up, joke about it, make signs. That would be his energy. But there wasn't a consistent, like, I'm going to make sure I make y'all feel my presence every time I'm on the floor. Now,
But you
mind
know
you,
what
everyone
though?
was good, but still, there was no one person that I think we're used to seeing from Duke squads.
But you know what though? Villainy isn't who he is. Those
Nah,
other players, that's who they are. They were
they
born
love
that
that.
way.
Yeah.
They woke up feeling like, oh yeah, this is who I am. I'm that guy. That's not any of
Yeah.
these guys. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It is surprising to find out that JJ Redick may be a decent human being. Paulo, not so much.
100% agree there. All right, guys, it's the final game here of the NCAA tournament, and we are super excited to get you guys in on some betting action. You should take advantage of StatHero. This single game pick'em, which is the final game here of this tournament, will definitely allow you to pit the star players against each other in this amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. StatHero is the easiest and fastest way to get your sports fix. They simply post sets of players for you to take on with a set of players you choose. The simple, sleek gameplay will have you playing in minutes. This is what daily fantasy was meant to be. So right now, you sign up for free at stathero.com/locked-on for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/locked-on using promo code locked-on for a 100% deposit match. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, so we're rocking and rolling here with Kenton Gibbs of Locked on Wolfpack, and we're talking all things men's NCAA tournament. And well, we got to do a little quick shout out because we're talking about the Carolinas here. So shout out to South Carolina for getting it done. Dawn Staley, never doubt her. Only Black head coach to win multiple NCAA championships. So, we're proud of our extended Carolina family. South Carolina was once in the ACC many, many moons ago. But here we are saying now North Carolina has the opportunity to be another Carolina team to win the ship, facing off against Kansas. And what other better? Roy Williams has lived the dream, right? Two of his favorites, two teams he's coached, are playing for a national championship. Is he wearing that dual jersey thing going on? He has a dual jacket. Who is he going to root for? I know he's a Carolina guy, but there's some part of him that's not going to be too sad if Carolina wins it. But both of his successors, Hubert Davis and Bill Self, are taking on this challenge. So let's start here. Carolina, why are they going to beat Kansas tonight?
What? That is not the angle I was expecting to come at. Nah, but I'm if you're asking me why this team comes out and this Carolina team comes out and wins, I'll say this. They have a chance to have the best bigs in the game. Yeah. Everybody loves talking about guard play and guard play. That's what it comes down to. Sure. I'm going to tell you this. If they have the opportunity to let or to have Manek stretching out the floor and Bacot dominating underneath, they've got a chance. They've got a chance here. The other part of this is, again, UNC keeps hitting new levels in terms of play that we have not seen all year. Like even the game that you're talking about, the Final Four game, and they turned the ball over. They only turned the ball over 10 times in that game. We've seen Carolina this year where 10, Hubert would have been like, oh, thank God. That's it. Just 10 turnovers. So they keep hitting new levels. Like it seems like every week. Nobody said that UNC was seeded too lowly. Nobody looked at the seed they were and was like, oh, come on. You can't put them there. And so, they're upset of Baylor, their victory against Duke and everything in between. This is a team that has constantly redefined standards in real time. Can they do it one more time for the ultimate prize? It's possible.
100% agree. And, I think when you brought up key players, it is Manic Monday. I'm not going to hold you. So if there was ever a time for Brady Manek to go off, he's got one more. His story is just incredible. Like leaving Oklahoma, going to North Carolina off the strength of other people deciding to transfer, which I know we talk so much about transfer portal, but it seems to be sometimes you just get put in the right position and you get that blessing. So I ain't gonna knock nobody for making best decisions for themselves. However, I know Brady has blessed this North Carolina program. And for me, I hope he has the game of his life where he cannot miss. Like if there's anybody that I want to just walk away from that saying he gave his absolute all, I feel like it's going to be Brady. Now you have Armando playing on 1.5 legs. Like he has swollen ankle. We're going to do what we got to do. Fine. RJ and Caleb, as much junk as I've talked about Caleb Love this entire season, as much as he's pissed me off, I got to give credit to the dude. I ain't never seen somebody hate Duke so much to where he goes off every single time. But other than that, I just feel like he has a dog in him that wants to see this all the way through, right? Like I think he's going to step up in a big way tonight. Now he's going to have a great challenger on the other side in Remy Martin, who is a walking bucket. Let's not hold anybody here. We've got some really good guys on the Kansas side that I think are going to make it a difficult night for North Carolina, but I don't see them as overwhelmed as they were going into Saturday. We're like, we know what's at stake here. Like, of course, national championship is on the line. And maybe that's just for us, common folk. We're all just breathing a lot differently than we were going into Saturday.
Listen, this game, I think the main matchup here, I think that there are two matchups that are going to decide this game. Agbaji and Leaky Black. Yeah. What is Leaky Black going to do? Because he's where that scoring for Kansas begins and ends. He's the guy that if you shut him down, Kansas is going to have a long night. If he gets hot as fish grease, hey, at least you ended Coach K's career in Canada and his actual career, and you can live with that. But that's the guy to me. And I believe it's DeJuan Harris. Is it? Yeah, DeJuan Harris. He's the exact opposite of who the UNC guards are in a way. Like he's not the fiery, loud, in your face. He's just a poised, Hey, I'm the floor leader. I got it. You get to where you got to be. I'm gonna find you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the way that in which he defends is very meticulous as well. You would think from his steal numbers that he goes for a lot of stupid attempts where he's gonna reach and they're gonna teach. That's not him. He's very methodical in even the way that he defends. So Caleb Love, how are you going to act tonight, right? Because the dog and the fire and all that, it can be great. You can shoot your way. You can shoot your team into some games that you probably shouldn't be into. The dog can also shoot you out of some games that you probably could have won. So that is going to be the biggest thing to me. And I know that RJ Davis has primarily handled the ball handling duties, and Love has moved into more of a 2-guard role. But the fact still remains: which Caleb Love is going to show up, and whichever guard is responsible for checking Harris, how are you going to act? Because if you allow him to be the orchestrator that he wants to be and to find open pieces and to drive and dish, that's going to cause some problems for you, because then his teammates get involved, and then you think to yourself, well, he ain't got his jumper ain't like that. Who told you that? The man's shooting 41% from 3 as well. So when you have to collapse on his teammates and you leave him open, you get what you get. So I think that those are going to be the matchups that are very important, and down low, hey, y'all got the chance. It's there. Y'all keep playing above your heads. How long can you hold it?
That's fair points. And I think that Caleb, is definitely going to have to control his emotions. Again, I say Saturday was probably the biggest test. And I feel like this team has grown to where they can check each other. Like, I'm sure they did in the past, but I think learning to trust, learning to be in the fight, staying in the fight when things are looking grim. You saw in Saturday matchup how the game of runs was very much alive and well. Carolina would jump out to a 6-point lead and Duke would take it right away, and then vice versa. So I think if Kansas jumps out early, can UNC not panic? Like, oh, we've been here before. We saw that UCLA matchup and how that went, right? We saw the Baylor matchup and how they came back with us and we had to go into overtime. So you've been through all of the typical storyline adversity that you see in college basketball. So how can you overcome that and just really keep rolling? But I want to give final thoughts because we do have some updating sort of news here when it comes to ACC basketball. But BetOnline is your number one sport for all of your betting needs and sports information. Find all of the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championships odds, podcasts, and reviews for all of the different leagues. BetOnline is your continued source for all of the sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. So we're finishing up here with Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. And of course, the ACC is forever shifting now that many people's seasons are over. There have been that Louisville has hired their coach. Now we're talking about staff. Nolan Smith's name has come up in jumping onto Kenny Payne's staff, despite not taking a head coaching position. Now that Coach K is gone, Shire's at the helm. Nolan's probably trying to make a name for himself. His father played at Louisville. So good move, bad move, scary move for Duke and for, Nolan Smith in Louisville. I think it's just, we never probably thought we'd see so much shift for Duke at once. And yet here we are, and going to I don't want to say rival, but an ACC school, that could be very interesting moving forward. Thoughts, Kenton?
Shire is the next coach. He's the coach in waiting. He's the guy at Duke. But Nolan Smith is the one that everybody keeps mentioning as a rising star. Mm-hmm. He's the one that everybody says, "Oh yeah, that guy there. He's going to put together some team. He's his recruiting game is he's his X's and O's. We'll see. I don't want to overreact to an assistant coach leaving. I think that Nolan Smith is a really, really he's really storied in Duke history, and he's always been around the program ever since he retired and all that. But I don't want to overreact to this because I feel like there's a little bit of everybody acting like the sky is falling for Duke because he left. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, let's give it some time, right? It's possible. It's possible. But this just doesn't feel a major enough scale to say like, this is it. Ladies and gentlemen, the folks who prayed on Duke's downfall, the Lord abides. Like, I don't feel like it's one of those.
I also feel like Duke is an institution, and I know Coach K is a part of that, and he literally was that for 40 plus years. Don't get me wrong, but basketball will go on. I know it's crazy. Basketball went on without Roy Williams, and he's gotten to enjoy being a, cheerleader, a fan, and all that good stuff. We've seen great coaches come and go. It happens. So I don't want Duke people to be in shambles about where the next part of their journey and being a part of that program is. Now, if you attach yourself to one person, that sucks because, yeah, everyone has to go at some point. But if you really love Duke basketball, you'll just keep supporting. I know I will say seeing them not have a big red carpet rollout after their season was kind of tough because at the end of the day, these young men gave their all for this season and all of the pressure. I don't think any Duke player would have been able to withstand it was just insurmountable. Like, you can't play for Coach K in his final season and not expect to have some hurdles. So to me, it was like, don't be Johnny come lately type fans. Like, don't only love me when I can do stuff for you. Like, I've given everything, to this program, right? So I don't know. It was a little gross to me.
I mean, hey, it is what it is. I would like the listeners of Locked On ACC to know that it is Candace's personal opinion of, regardless of what school she went to, she would feel like the ending of Coach K and everything that has happened subsequently is a little gross. Okay, we are very fair, balanced, and non-biased people. Okay,
no, I mean,
no,
legitimately,
I
that was
agree.
horrible.
I agree. I agree. And at the end of the day, again, the Father Time is undefeated. Okay, we have seen every great coach there is go on at some point in time. We've seen every great player there is. It's college at max. They got 5 years. In Case Keenum's case, 6. That's it. That's all you got. And then after that, the game will keep moving on. So Coach K has meant a lot to the game, and I get it. I get how much he's meant to so many places, and I know that certain people have allowed a rebrand that's kind of interesting there, but that's another story for another time. Long story short, the game will go on. Like, stop.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah.
I just think that people are overblowing it.
Yeah, I also think that, like, at the end of the day, you know how we always say, if you live long enough, you start to becoming the villain. And I hope no coach stays to the point where they're like, oh, well, he's too old. The game has passed him. Like, Coach K's leaving at a good time to where he's not being in the comments talking about, oh, the game has passed Coach K. He's not evolving. Like, he's done everything to evolve with the game as it's all shifted. I feel like in the 90s, he was that guy. In the early 2000s, he was that guy. In the 2010s, you can't say that Coach K's name in Duke basketball wasn't always in the conversation. Like, that's hella respect right there.
I'll tell you what. We've saw at Duke and another revenue generating sport what it looks like when you do stay too long.
Facts.
Okay? Facts. With all due respect to Coach Cutcliffe, because let's be honest, Charlotte celebrating beating Duke. I mean, hey, we get it. Charlotte is group of 5 and they beat a power 5. There was a point in time where nobody would be excited. Samford wouldn't be excited about beating Duke. You beat Duke? Cool. So, like, we got lunch, or what's going on after this? Like,
sure.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't overstay his welcome. He went out as his team being one of the best 4 in the country, according to where the season ended for him. So, it sucks that, of course, you lost to your blue blood rival, and they're going to hang that over your head until the day that you go on to glory. But it's life. You deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely is life. Well, to round out the conversation, of course, final game here, NCAA tournament. It has been a great men's and women's tournament. Not going to hold you. I've been thoroughly pleased with some of these games, but if there is going to be a winner tonight, who do you choose?
Well, everybody keeps saying that they all of the UNC fans keep saying, keep picking against us. It's motivating the team and it's making us good and yada, yada, yada. Well, congratulations. I'm going to give your boys more motivation. I think that Kansas runs away with this one. I think that it's not close. I'm going to say 83-66 Kansas.
Ooh, okay. Now we got stomped out. That's all right, though. As much as I've loved this team, I bet against them. I didn't bet. First of all, I haven't bet on the team this entire NCAA tournament. I'm very proud of myself.
Calvin Ridley is disappointing in you. Calvin Ridley is disgusting.
I have not slapped down not one of it. Okay, shout out to Will. I though feel like I got to go with the home team on this one. Not gonna bet against my dogs. I think that you have proven so many people wrong this season. Well, hell, you proved me wrong. I said y'all didn't have no heart. I didn't say y'all, didn't have the want to, the chutzpah to be a Carolina person. But as a proud alumna, I am excited to see this outcome. And I think they're gonna get it. Might as well. We're here now. Like, you might as well win the whole thing. After Saturday, you might as well win the whole thing.
I'm gonna say this. I think that I'm a big believer in numbers. I believe that numbers explains almost everything in our lives. You're born, they give you a number telling you it's your birth date and your social security. You die, they give you a time of death. Okay. I think numbers explains it all. With that being said, if you look at what North Carolina has done all year against ranked teams, all year, they have beat more teams in the tournament, more ranked teams in the tournament than they have at any point in time during the year. During the year, they beat one ranked team. That was Duke in Coach K's final game. Wow. Other than that, even in the ACC tournament, they lost to Virginia Tech in the second round. And then they get to the tournament. They beat Baylor, who was ranked. They beat UCLA, who was ranked. And they beat Duke again, who was ranked. Again, law of averages says that what goes up must come down back to where you should be. And I think this is the game Kansas puts them back where they should be.
It's funny you talk about statistics. I'm not really a stat girl, but I will tell y'all, every time Carolina loses in the semifinals of the ACC tournament, they have won the national championship. Happened in 2017, happened 2009. So I'm just saying. But I'm saying.
Well, we gonna see. One of us is gonna be right. One of us is gonna be right. That's one thing that we can guarantee. Okay.
And it's my show, so it's gonna be me. All right, Kenton, tell the folks where they can find you, follow your work.
You can find me at Locked On Wolfpack wherever you listen to this right now, including YouTube, as I'll be recording my first YouTube episode today. So
come on,
just
YouTube.
To let y'all know, y'all will get more of this pretty face of mine coming up pretty soon here, which means I got to get all this beard and all that lined up. But I have another story for another time. That's where you can find me, LO_Wolfpack on Twitter, and Locked On Wolfpack wherever you're listening to this podcast.
No doubt about it, guys. Come back tomorrow. We got more NCAA tournament conversation. We're going to have a champion. Hopefully it's an ACC school. We'll let you guys in on that action, and then we'll get ready for some NFL draft. I am super excited to talk about the NFL draft. Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Wherever you listen, make sure you guys check that out. But more importantly, we are going to highlight some of these really superstarred ACC people up in here. And we're going to make sure y'all know where to follow them, follow their careers on their next journey. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, until next time.